Culture swap.
Swap my culture. Notably, not culture clash.
Yeah, that's true.
Hellblazer.
Original Sins.
Yeah, Volume 1. The thing is...
Spoilers ahead, listeners.
Oh, well remembered, Jack. You're almost getting quite pro at this.
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
Almost. Someone at the comic book shop recommended John Constantine to me, and the way they described him made him sound really interesting, and I was very excited to read it.
Yeah.
I feel like they missold.
No.
Okay,
Okay.
Let me back up.
I've got a legit answer, Liam. Not like an answer. I've got a legit thing.
Go on.
So the issue with anything like this, which I personally think is, a thing, is that when you get suggested a character from a comic book, I always think it's better to start with either, midway through it, so like back in the
when they're
90s
more
or
formed.
noughties. Yeah, because I always think if you go back to these original comics, unless you already love the character, it's going to be a bit weird.
Yeah, they're still trying to figure shit out.
And it was a different era. Like, all the, was the 80s the Silver Age or the Golden Age? Probably the Silver Age.
Fuck knows, mate. It's the 80s.
I can never remember when it was. But yeah, all those old sort of comics are a little bit weird, I think.
Yeah?
Weird to go back to and start from is probably a better way of saying it.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I was going to say, like, I'm sure when they recommend this character, they do mean, like, later on it gets better. And there's definitely... I can see like the potential for this character to be really interesting. I don't think this is a good starting point for this character.
No, I would probably agree with that.
So do you want to give a sort of brief what it's about?
Yes, it was... How many stories was it, Liam?
I don't know, it was a lot. It was like, I want to say 8, but that could be wrong.
Do you want me to grab my phone and get it up?
I'm checking now.
Okay, cool.
It's just being a bit of a slow little bitch.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 5. No, that's more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, obviously.
So, it's 11 stories.
10 of which were written by Jamie Delano.
And one of which was written by Rick Veitch.
Veitch?
Yep. 2 of them are Swamp Thing stories, which we'll talk about later. And 9 of them are proper Hellblazer Constantine stories.
Yep.
They're the original issues of Hellblazer.
Who was the art by?
Don't remember.
John Ridgway.
It was good. I actually quite liked the art in this.
That was only for the first 6.
I liked the art in all of them.
Yeah, I think you notice there is a very distinct shift in Ghosts in the Machine. Not necessarily bad, you just notice it has changed.
Yeah, no, there were definitely points where I was like, oh, I can see that something's different here.
So John Ridgway still did contribute to the art in that, but also Brett Ewins and Jim McCarthy. Intensive Care doesn't even list who did the art.
There was no art.
Same as Shot to Hell.
Don't worry about it, Liam.
Well, I feel like it's bad that the artists aren't being credited.
It's probably because they were like continued from last ones. Anyway, it's these stories, because they're all sort of self-contained. Like, they start tying together more.
Yeah, the first couple are very much self-contained, but then things that are happening in the background start reoccurring. Yeah,
certain groups, the Knights of Resurrection, start appearing more.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, like, I mean, that's effectively what it is. I don't know how else to describe this graphic novel. It is those stories, and they're all just sort of looking at John Constantine, who's a alcoholic, cigarette smoking, exorcist / magician.
Yeah, that's an accurate enough description, I think.
It's kind of weird because it drops you in, which I quite like.
Yeah.
Like, issue 1 drops you in, and there have been these big events in his life already.
Yeah.
That we know nothing about. And I don't know if that's because he started in Swamp Thing, and I don't know whether if you go back to those Swamp Thing things, maybe it deals with them more, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they just thought, let's give this guy a backstory that we can allude to. But,
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's very obviously big... Like, there's the...
Newcastle
Nevada,
incident?
Is it? Oh, Newcastle, yeah, the Newcastle incident, that's it.
Yeah.
Where, like, a bunch of his friends died who are now haunting him.
I like that aspect.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite nicely handled. The thing, I really enjoyed the first, like, handful of stories.
The first story is the best story in the graphic novel.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I then found when they started to kind of try and get things more like integrated, like they tried to have these reoccurring plot devices and things, it then just felt like it kind of it stopped being as good, I think.
See, I didn't mind that stuff.
Yeah, like, I actually To be fair, there was a story where it's about his niece goes missing.
Yeah,
I thought that was really good as well. And that's probably the first story where these kind of background things start really coming to the front.
Yeah, because that's the Knights of Resurrection of his sister and her husband have joined them.
Yeah.
And then some Satanist a Satanist from the Damnation Army.
Yeah.
I like that name.
It sounds like a punk band name.
Yes, it does. But yeah, bad stuff happens.
Another thing that I don't think worked very well here, I see what they were trying to do, but they tried to integrate a lot of like real world politics and stuff into it. And for me,
but it was from the 80s.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm just saying it didn't work for me. Like I didn't think that was a good inclusion.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because we weren't around in the 80s.
I was.
Only just.
3 years of it.
Yeah, I don't think 3-year-old Liam was concerned with Margaret Thatcher.
Well, he should have been.
I thought, because I get what you're saying, but then the bit that I did think was quite cool or interesting was maybe interesting, because some of it was a bit weird, but one of Constantine's close friends is a homosexual man.
Yes, that was good.
And some of the stuff, it was really good because it's John Constantine is his friend and there's a bit where he thinks another gay guy's getting beaten up.
Yeah.
And he says, he's like, oh, I don't want to get involved, but I can't help but picture it being, I can't remember the character's name.
Ray.
He says, I can't help but picture it being Ray.
Yeah.
So I'm going to help.
Yeah, and that, especially for the time when he had that AIDS scare and everything going on.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a really good part, I thought.
It's quite impressive that a comic, I don't know what other comics were doing at the time particularly, but it's quite impressive that they were like, yeah, no, we're going to have a character that has got AIDS as well.
Yeah, and he has a friend who's, not kind of shun him for it or anything.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I thought that was quite interesting. I do get what you mean about the politics. It doesn't resonate,
it's not
I'm
even
also
that it
aware
resonates. It just it's good in that it grounds it in a time. It's just every now and again they'll throw out this edgy political statement, which sure at the time fine, but it feels shoehorned in. It doesn't feel like a natural part of the.
Oh, I don't know. I thought it felt kind
story.
Of. I thought it fit.
It didn't work for me, but that's just me.
Fair enough.
What I was reading about it, they did say one of the interesting things about this is as the comic has progressed, that the sort of and the political history has changed. The comic has kept up with that.
Oh, okay.
So there's stuff that references the war on terror and that from more recent years.
Oh, fair enough.
Which I think is quite an interesting thing that you don't often see necessarily in a lot of comics.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So it could be that if we carried on reading this and it got more relevant and more timely. Again, it's going to depend how it's integrated into the story. I never felt that any of the political stuff so far has really been worth putting in from a plot perspective.
Yeah, no, it's not, but it's not in there for the plot.
It just is in there to give you some background, shorthand. Yeah,
I think it's just establishing, because my guess to how that stuff really ties in is you're seeing Constantine, because I don't know how much listeners know about Constantine, and I don't know a shit ton.
I don't know a lot.
But I used to really like the Constantine film.
The what, with Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, I genuinely like that film. I think it's a good film.
Never seen it.
Reading this was really interesting because a bunch of shit that happens in this happens in the film.
Okay.
And it was kind of interesting to be like, oh wow, that film actually did it didn't stick to the comics, but a lot of the stuff that happens in it, I was like, oh, I know this scene.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because I've watched it. So that was quite interesting. But Constantine's whole thing is he's not I know in this he fights a lot of demons.
Yeah.
But they establish in the film, and he mentions it in here, that he's not fighting the bad guys or the good guys. He's basically keeping the balance. There's this whole idea of keeping the balance between heaven and hell.
Yeah.
That's how things are meant to work. Heaven's not meant to win, and neither's hell, because neither one is great if it wins.
Yeah, and I think that aspect of it is what made me think most of Preacher, which we did a while back on the podcast.
Yeah. Constantine's not. He's obviously a good guy.
Yeah.
But he's also kind of a dickhead.
No, I think he's an anti-hero because, while you say he's obviously a good guy, I think while he does good things, he's not a good guy in that he will happily dick over his friends and stuff to get to that end result of Yeah.
Good. I mean, a good guy is in if something bad is happening,
he'll step in.
Yeah, exactly. If the world is going to end, Constantine's fine, I'll deal with this.
Yeah, but he's not
He will,
the sort
but
of
he will
person
then
that's
sacrifice his friends to achieve that goal.
Yeah, he's not the sort of person that's like, I'm going to find a situation, like a scenario where everyone comes out of this happy.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not.
Yeah.
Which I like about him.
Yeah, I think that's one of the more compelling sort of character traits, I guess, because it's interesting not only seeing him do that sort of thing, but also, like you said, with the ghosts that follow him, it's interesting seeing that guilt does weigh on him to an extent. But I feel like there's definitely, from what we've read so far, there's a lot more to be drawn from that aspect than what we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I legitimately am tempted to keep reading.
Yeah, like, while I overall didn't enjoy this massively, I have to admit I am curious if it gets better, because I think that there's potential here, and like the building blocks have been placed now. I'd be curious to read the next one just to see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I have a weird, not fascination, but I really enjoy, like, one of my favourite comic book series of all time, probably, is a series called Lucifer.
Okay.
Which is by Vertigo/DC. And Constantine appears in it, and, has cameos. Yeah. And it's literally about Lucifer.
Yeah. And
deals with all this stuff with it. Like, I can't remember if he lost his powers, or he's, like, just left hell. He's just like, I'm fed up of hell.
Yeah.
And it's this really, like, I'm fascinated by things like this that take the Christian mythology / maybe not mythology if you're a Christian, I apologise if I offended you, but mythology, and like does weird things with it, like, because there's a scene in this where a priest is trying to stop a demon by holding up a cross, and Constantine's just like, he's like, oh, it's either going to pick me or him, and then he tries to help the priest, then someone's like, no, Constantine, it's going to kill you, so he just goes, fair enough, and like bails. And then he's like, I feel sorry for the priest, and you just see the priest getting murdered, and I was like, yeah, that's fair enough.
So you did touch on it being like a DC Vertigo thing. So we spoke about this briefly before. I tried to read Sandman, I think a year or two ago, which is also another DC Vertigo print. And one of the things that kind of bothered me is that they shoehorned in the Justice League to that story in an entirely unnecessary way that just didn't work. And it's disappointing the same things happened here, I think, in that the last two stories start with talking about Batman and Superman and Darkseid, and then Swamp Thing appears, and like you said, like the character originated from Swamp Thing. I get that. I thought it was the weakest part of the book.
Right. Here's my not counterpoint, because I do agree with you.
Yeah.
But I don't mind that Swamp Thing is part of Constantine, because I think the way they've tied it together is sort of makes sense, because from what I understand, and again, I don't know much about Swamp Thing, like even less than I know about Constantine, and from what we sort of glean in this, is that Swamp Thing is part of the balance of keeping everything between heaven and hell, like he's something called the element or something.
Yeah,
and I don't mind that, because that ties together. That's fine. If they've got a story reason for it, I can deal with it. And I assume that Swamp Thing's probably going to be coming up in... If I keep reading, I'm sure he'll pop up more.
Again. Yeah.
Which I'm fine with.
But the thing is...
But I agree with you, because I don't like... Like, I get that they're in the universe, so I can see why they'd mention Superman and Batman. But I think it's the fact that the person that says it to him is so involved in another story that's clearly going on at that point.
Yeah. And the other thing is, it's... The Swamp Thing stuff, I felt, was really, really badly explained. Like, I read those two stories, and to be honest, I still don't know really what they were about and what was happening.
Nope. Honestly, when I read the first one, I spent most of it being like, who's this Abby chick?
Yes.
And then, because she had grey hair, I was like, have we jumped forward? Is this meant to be Zed?
Yeah.
Like, there was that whole first issue, I was like, is this Zed, but boning Swamp Thing and now hates Constantine? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, and was it like Constantine had been sort of possessed or something by Swamp Thing?
Yeah, Swamp Thing. So Swamp Thing needs a human body to impregnate Abby, his wife / girlfriend.
Yeah.
So that they can have some sort of spiritual creature baby, which is whatever, which is going to be the next Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
That we get from the story. But so he possesses Constantine.
Yeah. Don't know why.
Nope. Don't understand, because Abby specifically says to him, it's weird that you picked Constantine because I don't like him.
Yeah, and it's also weird because something that happens previously does play into it, in that Constantine's blood has been tainted by a demon, which does play into that story. It's referenced. So it just seemed really bizarre. This story just seemed to come so out of left field with such little explanation. Yet because it's referencing like things that have happened previously in Constantine, it feels like I felt like I should have known what was going on.
Yeah, I think it was a weird inclusion for them to put in.
Yeah.
Because clearly you have to have read whatever the build-up story is in the Swamp Thing series.
Yeah. It was
So it definitely is a very weird inclusion.
Yeah.
I think that's probably my biggest complaint, was those two stories.
Yeah, they really were weak. I mean, to be fair, like...
I don't know if weak's the right word.
Confusing?
Yeah, because I think they're probably not weak if we had also read the Swamp Thing stuff, or one of us loved Swamp Thing, we'd probably be like, oh, it's really cool that that's in there because it's super important in
that's true.
This
but then
storyline.
you kind of have to wonder, like, okay, so you've done this book and you're selling it as John Constantine Hellblazer. Like, how much of your audience is actually going to come to this being like, I love Swamp Thing and I'm so pleased about these two stories?
I mean, probably quite a lot.
Do you really think so?
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that.
People that like 80s Constantine, who was introduced, they probably got into him through the Swamp Thing universe. Like, I've read some Swamp Thing, and Swamp Thing's quite cool.
I don't think it's a lot, personally, but what do I know?
I think it probably is. I would guess that it would be more than you think.
Okay. The other issue I had is, even though, like you said, they try and tie stories together, when I finished reading a story, I never felt particularly compelled to go back and carry on reading, which is why... Like, I was still reading it up until about half an hour before we recorded, and I had to plough through like the last 5 stories today because it just didn't grip me and have me like my favourite ever comic I've read is the Walking Dead comic, because I'll finish a volume and then immediately be like, fuck, I need to read what happens next. Like, it just grips me and really like gets me feeling like that. This, I read a story, it's like, oh, okay, fine, put it down, didn't feel the need to go back.
I think, again, I agree with you, but again, I think that can be explained by the fact that it's going back and reading these 80s storylines.
Possibly, but
I think that they probably are good, and there are some 80s and earlier comics that are really good.
Yeah, I mean, Preacher was 80s, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Like Preacher, I really, really enjoyed.
But it's also this is like a, serialized part of a universe. It's different to the comics you're talking about now. Like, that's not a positive. I'm not saying that in a good, like, so forgive it. I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay, so
Preacher
was 95.
Okay.
The only other sort of like oldish comic I've read is I read a volume of Judge Dredd, like when he first started in 2000 AD, I think it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that they've done these like big volumes of case files where they collect a whole bunch of stories, and I mean that would have been probably before the 80s, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was.
I really struggled with that one as well. So it could just be that, like, because I don't have a lot of like knowledge of the time, maybe, or passion.
Not even that. I just think there's stuff from that era was written differently. Comics worked a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's interesting, but it's not. Yeah, we are used to the modern style of comics.
Yeah, which to us is better.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I definitely think it'd be interesting to keep reading with this and see how it does evolve over time.
Yeah.
But again, like, so when was Berserk? I mean, you think...
but that's manga. That's a totally separate
but that's
thing.
what I'm saying. Like, if the only thing that's different is the fact that it's 80s and the comic it was a little bit, like, done differently...
No. Okay, so what I'm saying when I say the 80s was different, I mean there's literally... the Golden Age, Silver Age, and whatever, I can't remember what they call them. And the comics from those eras are completely different. Like, the Western... I don't know much about manga and how it has changed over time.
No.
But, I haven't heard... There probably are big divides as well. But I know for a fact that, Golden Age comics were around when the war was and stuff, and just after the war. So they have a very specific way of telling a story where it's like the hero, the villain, and it's all very obvious. That's the way it is. And then, like... Silver Age, they started to get a little bit darker, I think, which is where... So this is probably Silver Age, to be honest.
So, that you speaking about the war reminded me of the story when Johnny comes marching home.
Yes.
What did you think of that one?
It was fine.
So basically, John Constantine goes to this town in America, and...
Can you name the town, Liam?
Not from memory, no.
Nope, neither can I.
But basically, a group of sort of... Was it the Vietnamese War? It had to be, right?
Yeah, it was the Vietnam War, yeah.
Yeah. A group from this town who were in the army just disappeared, right?
Yeah. Well, they're MIA. I think they died.
Yeah, that's what we're led to assume. But then, like, several decades later, they reappear in this town, but they're seeing the town as a sort of Vietnamese village.
Yes.
and Constantine's sort of just really watching and not getting that involved.
Yeah, there was a couple of weird bits in it that I was like, I don't get what Constantine's doing or what they're trying to say by him not doing stuff.
What do you mean?
When he watches a man rape a woman.
Yeah.
And he says, I could get involved, but it's dangerous, so I won't.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. From what I've read on the other stuff, this hasn't been the way I'd imagine you would deal with this.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and so this could just be a memory because I read this like a week ago on a plane. Is it ever explained what's actually going on there?
No, not hugely.
Okay.
But because I was trying to figure out the Swamp Thing stuff, so I read a bit about this graphic novel.
Yeah.
And so people were saying it's the ghosts of that dude's platoon. Because it's basically one guy survived.
Yeah. And
came back and everyone in the town hates him except his wife.
Yeah.
And he has horrifying flashbacks and eventually joins up with his ghost teammates. He's the one that does the raping, and it's not very nice.
No, but it was a really interesting idea.
Yeah. It felt a little bit American.
Yeah, okay.
Because I always find when you're watching anything with Americans in the Vietnamese War, there's you can always tell when something's American and dealing with it.
In what way?
Because, I don't know.
Okay. So, from what I've seen from films and media that deals with the Vietnamese War, it always seems very, like, what's the word? Like, two kind of angles to it. There's one angle where it does adopt this, like, critical stance of the whole war. And there will always be a character or someone who's like, why are we even here fighting this anyway? But then you've also got the other stance of, like, America, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't know, it's always, like, it just feels weird to me, the Vietnamese War.
Yeah, but I think it was a weird war, like, in that whole...
Well, no, it was a horrible war that definitely didn't need to be
no, but it was also, like, the first ever, like, televised war as well.
Yeah, it was a full-on messed up situation.
Yeah.
But, like, this deals with it well in some parts of it deals with it well.
Well, do you think...
It's showing that they did horrible things.
Do you think it's kind of... Because I think, again, like... I know I keep referring back to it, but I find Preacher does have, like, comparisons to this that are interesting, and I think the Vietnamese War is a part of the Preacher comics.
I don't know if I've got to that point.
No, I think it's a couple of volumes in.
Okay.
Do you think with this, the thing that made me a bit not uncomfortable, but a bit unsure, is having John Constantine, who is supposed to be this like embodiment of Britishness almost, or like a version of Britishness, not like drinking tea, stiff upper lip, but definitely is supposed to represent, I think, the British counterculture. Maybe having him witness this like American thing, it felt a bit like what we were talking about last episode with Blue is the Warmest Colour, where we were saying, is a straight male person the right person to be telling this story? Again, is Constantine the right area for this to be
written
dealt
by
with?
Americans?
Was it? I didn't know that.
Probably. I mean, it's Vertigo.
Okay, but okay. I didn't know if it was or not.
I mean, I don't know if the writer himself is American, but it's an American company.
Yeah.
So I imagine, But
having this like American atrocity seen through the eyes of a British person.
Well, yeah, but like you said, this was the first like televised war, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like a thing like Blue is the Warmest Colour where it's the lesbian culture and, which is a very personal thing. It's a specific person experiencing something and a group of people all experiencing it who all have the same thing. The Vietnamese War was a war.
Yeah. So, okay.
Like, I feel like that's very different. I think if anything, I think they were trying to do a message. I don't know if they were. But I think they were trying to be like, that's what everyone else was like.
Well, thinking
You've got
about
America and Vietnam had these two things going on, and the rest of the world watched.
Thinking about it then, because one of the things I like about this podcast is it actually gets me thinking quite critically about some of the stuff that we talk about.
Okay.
Because I'm really guilty of, like, I'll read a book or like a comic book or watch a film and then just be like, those are my thoughts, and not really analyse it.
Yeah, we both do that.
Yeah. Now talking about this and actually thinking about it, and you saying that bit where he just watches the guy rape the girl.
Yeah.
Do you think it's therefore the fact that it's a British person doing that? This could be read as like a criticism of Britain not getting involved and just being like a bystander watching these horrible things happen.
It feels I think it definitely could be. It just felt really out of place to me. Like, I liked the story. when I read it.
It was really interesting.
And now looking at it more, I'm like, it does feel a bit weird.
Yeah, it definitely, like, if it compared to the rest of the stories, it is probably one of the more different ones.
Yeah.
But it was probably one of my favourite ones. Like, I think my favourite was definitely the first one.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I did really enjoy this one, and I really enjoyed the one with the niece.
Yeah.
But the rest, honestly, kind of didn't have enough to them that made me really, like, draw to them.
Well, I know you didn't like the second story particularly.
With the farting demon.
Yeah, well, he didn't though. His name was Fart.
Yeah, it was just felt a bit
He was like the Lord of Flatulence.
Yeah, that felt a bit silly.
But yeah, that's just one part of it. I thought the actual story itself was quite interesting.
Which was demons trading in on
effectively,
like,
instead of it being like, so you have the first story is a demon that just possesses people and forces them to eat non-stop whilst it consumes them.
Well, it says, yeah, but when you say eat, it's not necessarily food either. It's
no, yeah,
whatever they most desire, isn't it?
No,
I thought the whole point was it was a demon that capitalized on whatever it was that you desired.
It's not that it's not what you desired. It was the idea of obsession and desire. So it targets a drug addict.
Yeah.
But when that guy doesn't break free and eat anyone, but like the people that he possesses, everyone eats something. None of them are like, when he takes the bodybuilder doesn't obsessively work out till he dies. The bodybuilder eats his own arm.
Okay.
Because it's the demon is drawn to desire, like you said.
Yeah.
But what it does to people is it just makes them hungry.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, you're right. It
but it's not
fixates
just
on
food.
people that. No,
that's what I was trying to get
You can
at.
be. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's anyone that has a huge desire or hunger for something.
Yeah, and then it makes you consume that literally.
Yes, fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got that as the first story, which is a very, violent, like, in your face, this is what demons do.
Yeah.
And then the second story, they're still violent and horrible demons, but they're like stockbroker demons.
Yeah, it's all about class, basically.
Yeah, and I just like the fact that the way Constantine wins that one, whereas the first one, it's like this big magical thing they've got to do to solve it.
Yeah.
The way Constantine wins the second one is he effectively just makes their market crash.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then doesn't even get punished at the end by the demon. The demon's just like, I'll get you at some point.
Yeah. Which, might happen still.
Yeah. I'm sure that demon probably comes back later on.
Yeah.
But I just like the idea of, like, I didn't have to do magic to fix this problem. I just sort of made a rumour and tricked them into thinking souls weren't worth as much.
Yeah. So did you also read it on an iPad?
I read it on my phone. On
okay.
the Kindle app.
So this is my second time ever reading a comic on the iPad. The first one was Archie, which is great, by the way.
Sure.
While I found it kind of annoying to read on the iPad what I'm about to talk about, I did like the way that the double-page spreads were laid out.
Okay.
Like, I thought the artwork, and particularly when it came to, like, the double-page spreads, how the panels were positioned, that sort of thing.
I don't know how yours works on Comixology.
I read it on Kindle.
Oh, okay. So were you using the zoom thing where it, like... So effectively, I was getting if it was a single page...
Yeah.
I could see the whole page.
Yeah.
But I could put it into the mode where it would zoom on whatever cell was next. So
I could do that, but I didn't enjoy reading it that way. I was just reading it page by page.
See, I had to do it that way because it was on my phone.
Right, got you. Yeah, so reading it page by page, when it came to like the big double page, I'd have to zoom in to read the text, and then like navigate around the page. So that's why I was saying it was a bit annoying to do.
Yeah, see, I think you should, honestly, I reckon it's worth trying that zoom feature they've got where it goes on the cells, because it when you first turn to the page, it starts with the whole page, so you can see the artwork. Right. Okay. But then the next swipe takes you into the cells in order, so it's it's actually quite good. I didn't like it when I first tried it ages ago, but I'm actually all right with it, especially if you're on a phone. I think it was definitely a good way of doing it.
Well, I'm hoping at some point to get a bigger iPad, because this one I've got is a work one. It's quite old.
Fair enough.
Which I think if you get one of the bigger screens, it's not going to be an issue at all then, because you probably read the double page spread without having to zoom in anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
One thing I did notice, because I do actually have this as a book as well, but because I was travelling I didn't want to carry a heavy book with me. The colours on the iPad are a lot more vibrant and clear. Like, the book is actually kind of faded.
Yeah.
Which...
I mean, that makes sense.
In what way?
Well, it's digital.
Yeah, no, but obviously The book isn't an old book or anything.
No, but they've probably enhanced it. Like, they probably scanned them. I don't know where they store all the original files and stuff. But they probably scan it in and then have enhanced it.
Yeah, and again,
to make it look
the
right.
double-page spread. It's annoying when you're trying to read something like that in a book because you always lose some content in the crease.
Yes.
So it's good getting that on the iPad. I'm just, for a first time reading a big comic like this on an iPad, I was pleasantly pleased with how it worked.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And again, it will help me not have to buy a huge library of things if I can just purchase it on the iPad when I want it.
That's true.
So it's going to save me money.
Oh, God. So, Liam.
Yeah.
What do you give Hellblazer, Original Sins, John Constantine, Volume 1 out of 5?
Because there was 11 stories and I only really liked 3 of them, it's going to have to be a 2 out of 5.
Okay.
I might read the second one to see if that improves, and I think it could improve, but for this volume, 2 out of 5.
Fair enough.
How about yourself, Jack?
I think I give it 3 out of 5.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Yeah. But Liam,
Yeah.
there's a bigger question.
Oh, okay, here we go.
It's a huge question.
Okay.
I don't know if you're aware, but Mother's Day's coming up soon in the UK.
Oh, I'm pleased you told me that. I have to get a card and book a table at a restaurant.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
And we thought, Liam, didn't we? We've said maybe we should do a Mother's Day special.
Yeah, because... And the whole reason for this is...
we love our mums.
There's that, but also...
No, Liam, just leave it at that, because that sounds better.
Yeah, no, but also, like, we generally wouldn't want our mums to listen to this show. Because we
fair.
swear a lot, we talk about naughty things, like, we don't necessarily want our mums to listen to some of the stuff we discuss.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there was an
Alaskan
entire
fire
episode
dragons.
where we wrote sex stories, so...
Yeah. So the idea is, it would be nice to have an episode that we could play to our mums and they could be all proud of us.
Yeah, exactly. And but that meant we had to think, Liam, about, what we were going to talk about for Culture Swap, because, a lot of the stuff we watch is not appropriate for our mums to listen to us talk about.
No, definitely not.
So we sat down together and we had a chat and we said, what is
the most motherly
the
thing?
most mum thing?
And I contributed by saying, well, I think last year my mum only went to the cinema once. So that definitely helped us sort of focus in, didn't it?
Oh, definitely. But also this thing was known for, slightly older women.
Yeah. Mature women, shall we say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They, it was definitely targeted towards them.
Yeah. They
100%.
seem to love it.
Yeah, exactly. And we thought, hey, how can we get closer to our mums than by watching something that they so clearly love?
Yeah.
So, Liam, what are we watching for next time?
On the next episode, we're going to be watching 50 Shades of Grey.
It's so obvious, isn't it, listeners? You've all just gone, of course they are.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get my mum to write in with her thoughts on it. You might actually watch it with your mum if you're brave enough. I think.
Maybe.
I really want you to.
I don't know if I want to.
No, but that's partly why I really want you to.
We'll see.
We at least need to get her thoughts, I think, on it, even if she hasn't necessarily seen or read it.
Yeah, I don't even know if she has.
No, but she'll be aware of it, right?
Probably, yeah, I assume so.
So it'd be good to know why she hasn't read it, maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe you could just watch it with her and then get some immediate thoughts from her.
You saying it more doesn't make it happen.
Damn it. But yeah.
Yeah,
so...
I like that our main problem is that we can't let our mums listen to this because, we do too much swearing and sex.
But actually, they probably love that.
So we've gone for 50 Shades of Grey.
I think the thing is, right,
that it's going to be horrible to watch.
Yeah, well, no, let's be open-minded about it. It might be good.
Sorry, yep, that's fair.
I think the thing is, our mums are probably totally fine with swearing and sex and stuff, just not us doing that particularly together.
I don't know if my mum would care that much.
To be fair, same. But
yeah, it's more funny if we pretend that they are.
Yeah, in my head, they'd be livid.
Yeah.
So yeah, next episode, a Mother's Day special. And also, let's also remember that we have a listener who made her mum listen to one of our episodes.
Yeah.
And they didn't like all of the sex talk. So they're going to love next episode. Like this is the episode, right? If you're a fan of us, and we know there's some of you out there, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, you exist.
If you want to be like, look, Mum, this is what I'm a fan of. This is what I'm into. This will be the episode for you.
Yeah, we are making this episode for you to share with your mum.
Yeah, mother friendly.
Yes.
To quote Cards Against Humanity, kids tested, mother approved.
I am going to swear still, though.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm going to be very good.
God, it's going to be fucking difficult.
But that was that, really, weren't it?
That was. That's our show, listeners.
Thanks for listening. Why don't you get in touch?
How can they do that, Liam?
Twitter. They could tweet us at nerdonnerd. Maybe they want to email us because it just can't fit into 140 characters or less. So pop us an email, nerdonnerdpod@gmail.com.
Yep.
Also, we're still uploading videos regularly to YouTube. So,
But Liam, how do I find the YouTube channel?
I'm not going to lie to you, it's a bit of a ball ache, but
It is.
the more of you that come, the easier it will be. So just search Nerd on Nerd, right? And that might work. But if it doesn't, just search Nerd on Nerd and then add Fleshlight. Or it's called a Fleshlight. Something like that. Some sort of fleshlighty combination will work. We're still waiting to be sponsored by anyone that makes fleshlights and anyone that'd be willing to send us many fleshlights.
Yeah, so if you make or sell flashlights or know someone that makes or sells flashlights,
put them in touch.
Yep.
You could also leave a lovely review on iTunes. As you heard, maybe it'll get read out on the next episode.
Who knows?
So you do that, you just go to iTunes, and then you just rate us 5 stars, and then you leave nice words.
Yep.
That's everything. Oh, Facebook. We've got a Facebook page. Facebook.com/nerd-on-nerd.
Pod, I think it is.
Nerd on Nerd Pod.
Yeah.
So there's loads of ways for you to contact us, and we have a whole section called Housekeeping, which is for interactions we have with you guys. So just get involved. What have you got to lose?
I agree with Liam.
That's a maybe a first.
Well, no, we did spend the whole of the episode with Amanda on agreeing.
That's true. It's good to hear, though.
Yeah.
I'll never say that, but, you know.
Except when I'm right about stuff.
Hence why I'll never say it. Any final thoughts?
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.